On this episode of the Infinite Loop Show, Apple announces something for next week. OMG, what could it be?
I have problems with my iTunes account. Is something wrong with iCloud?
And then, some random chick in California is getting my text messages. All this and more coming up on this episode of the Infinite Loop Show.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Infinite Loop Show, episode number 6.
It's always a good sign when you know the title of your own show.
Yeah, it's because I'm drunk. No, I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm really not. Trust me.
You're gonna spend the rest of the show trying to prove that you're
right.
not.
I'm gonna spend the rest of the night. I'm
totally sober, guys. Really.
Look, I bought an Android tablet.
I'm so not drunk.
I'm so not drunk. No, really. This is the Infinite Loop Show, episode 6. I am Michael Gaines.
And I'm Kacey Coughlin.
And I don't think we've had more news in our document here than since we started.
Possibly.
All right, let's start off with some mini stuff here. Apple is introducing mastered for iTunes tracks.
You love this.
No, not this. I thought when I first read this, I thought, oh my God, they finally, are giving us 24-bit. No. Mm-mm.
Yeah, no, it's not.
It's not 24-bit. No, what this is doing, what they
assumed it was the same thing.
No. What this is they're using the 24-bit master to remaster for iTunes, and then the levels. What? Yeah, it's not what I thought it was. It's basically so that it sounds better on iTunes. It sounds better in your earbuds. It's not what I thought, but Apple is developing.
MP3 then?
What?
So it's like a better sounding MP3 then? It's not really lossless?
AAC, yeah. Well, no, it's not lossless. It's still the same old lossy AAC,
yeah.
Whittled
it's
down.
It's a better lossy. Great.
Apple is developing a new HD audio format that's supposed to sound better. And this is supposed to be what I've wanted, but I don't know if it really is because it's still under wraps. There have been rumors that Neil Young was working on something with Steve Jobs where you can pull in HD audio, so you can have 2496. I read about this way back in February of last year. It was a year ago. And what I want, I'll tell you just a little bit about listening to high-res audio, is that if you have a good system, you can tell the difference. You can hear details. There are certain things that you can hear that you've never heard before. If you know a certain album like the back of your hand, and you listen to a 2496 or a 24192 version of it, you can hear things like, for example, a cymbal can last longer, a drum beat can last longer. You can hear a guitar better, and you just have to know what to hear, what to listen for, because sometimes mastering is just pumping up the volume and making it sound louder, and you have to distinguish between what's loud and what's real.
Right,
and
there's like a gray scale in there.
Yeah, it's essentially that. I mean, to make a really bad analogy, because music is different than video. But imagine if you looked at an old 8-bit picture of the Mona Lisa back 20 years ago, and then you looked at a 32-bit TIFF today. Mm-hmm. That's the difference between the audio you get on CD and the audio you get from the masters. Mm. But the problem is that, unlike what's on video, you need to have good equipment in order to hear it, and that's why most people don't care.
Yeah, that's true. You're not going to hear any kind of gradient or scale, dramatic scale, through the earbuds.
Right.
So.
Right. I just recently picked up 2496 masters of somebody that I'm sure many people don't know. His name is Jean-Michel Jarre from France. He's been putting out albums since 75, 76. And 3 of his albums were just released in 2496. I listen to those albums all the time. And I had these really old CDs, and I bought some remastered versions a little while ago, but these 2496 versions sound amazingly better. You can hear things better. You can hear just so many little details. I'm not even going to go into them, but when you know what you're looking for or listening for, you know you're getting the right thing, and it's not just because it's louder.
Right. Yeah.
So, but we'll keep an eye on this and see what that's all about. Tell us about this Trojan that you wrote up about.
So this was I forget who unearthed this little guy. It was on Cult of Mac over the weekend, and working in the enterprise space, I deal a lot more, in fact, than I ever did in kind of the regular consumer retail space. I deal a lot more with certificates and the keychain and keychain access on the Mac. A lot of Exchange stuff, Office Communicator and Outlook to get to work and sync just right with our Exchange server. You end up dealing with a lot of certificates and tweaking them, and you learn, what other certificates are kind of connected. In any case, I saw this come across Cult of Mac I think it's over the weekend, that a Trojan was found by a virus, a company who makes virus protection for the Mac, which is kind of silly. But anyways, I guess they're actually doing their job. Virus Barrier unearthed this, and it's called Flashback.G, and it's a Trojan that comes in as a certificate. It comes in through keychain access. And it's actually, the certificate itself is called Apple Inc. Well, not .com, but it's signed by Apple Inc. I mean, it's not literally, but it looks like it is. And at first it comes in as not trusted, but you can set keychains by default to be like trust all, or you can physically go in there and manually just hit trust if it's giving you issues. Sometimes when things don't work or they don't run right, that'll be the issue, that there's one little certificate that's not being trusted. So a lot of people probably just go in there and they just go trust all. So this is kind of an issue. The only caveat to that is it really only seems to affect older Mac operating systems from Snow Leopard and prior. So if you're running Lion or Mountain Lion, if you're super elite, this is less of an issue for you. But just the fact that it's on its face value, the fact that it comes in titled and signed as Apple Inc. Kind of is just really taking advantage of the fact that I think most Apple users don't know about this stuff.
Right.
And they're just going to look at it and say, hey, it says Apple on it, click, all good. Because we've had it so good for so long. Literally, I mean... We
have. I laugh because we really have.
We don't have viruses and Trojans coming up the yin-yang. Not like even the most basic Windows user has to kind of become familiar with viruses and what to look out for and what things are named and what stuff looks weird. So they're almost by nature trained then to, look out for stuff like this.
Sure.
Whereas Mac users, we don't have to. You can click links all day long and not get shit.
Yeah.
So this is kind of, it's kind of sneaky in that it's taking advantage of that fact where we don't really have to worry and we're just going to click on stuff all the time. But if you know what to look for and what things should look like, then it's not going to affect you. And again, it looks like it's really only targeting older systems. Yeah, so one more reason to upgrade, people.
Does it say where these are coming from? Like this certificate doesn't just exist. It doesn't pop in out of thin air.
It comes off a couple of different applications that use Flash and Java.
Okay.
I think Skype was one of them. It's injected code, so it can come in through a cookie, can come in through a download.
Okay. All right.
Lots places. A WordPress theme, maybe.
Oh, look, I'm running on reserve battery power because I forgot to plug this thing in. I'm just so late. It was like one of those things like, oh, I got to get ready for the show.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, well, it'll only take me a second. Boy, this is live
like
stuff.
Tech support 101. Is it plugged in?
Well, I got like 100 things I got to do for every show. And I did 99 of them. By the way, I kept the camera on you the whole time so people can't watch me. I'm so funny.
Arr, 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 arr.
All right, Apple iBooks copy protection has been cracked. There is an app called Requiem, which finally.
No, I'm just kidding. Like, I don't know. Maybe I assume there's probably some people that this is a big deal for, but it's. I think most people it's not a big deal for.
To me, it doesn't matter at all. But essentially, there's this app called Requiem, and you can't just find it on the internet. Apparently, you have to know how to get it. Mm-hmm. And this app strips DRM from protected AAC files, and now it strips the protection from iBooks. It doesn't matter to me, but it's important because now what happens is you got to put more DRM on these books. No, really, because what's Apple going to do? No, Apple's not going to just leave it there.
Right. It's almost, well, it's sort of similar to the whole jailbreaking thing. Mm-hmm. You know, every version of iOS, they put in more and more blockades against jailbreaking, and so every new jailbreak has to go deeper and deeper into the software, into the firmware.
Cat and mouse the whole time, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know what kind of repercussions this is going to have. Apple's probably going to have to put out a new version soon.
Yeah,
and they're going to have to
updates.
Yeah, and all these updates. So we'll see what happens. Me personally, I don't buy many books on the iTunes store anyway. The bookstore.
I might start now that there's Marvel graphic novels on the iBooks store.
That's right. This is not in our notes, but let's talk about this. So Marvel now has some graphic novels out on the Apple bookstore. Did you buy any of them?
No.
Are you going to start?
I probably am. I get paid tomorrow, but but more importantly, like on first glance, like. I think the top ones that I would have pounced on immediately upon seeing, I literally like just bought within the last 2 months in paperback.
Yeah.
So those I'm like, well, I can wait. You know, maybe I'll buy it again in digital just to see. Maybe when I get my iPad 3 with Retina display.
Uh-huh.
But you know, I'm feeling like I can wait, especially since I have like 10 novels now that I need to read, so I've got a little bit of a backlog I need to get through before I can start buying more books.
Right. So looking at this, it's split up by by title. So you've got Avengers, Captain America, and there aren't many of them here, but as you and I were going through these the other day, we found that there are a lot of things also on the Marvel and DC apps.
Yeah. Well, I mean, both they're both limited. Obviously, mm-hmm. They're not going to have everything in. They're not going to have everything in the app in digital format just yet. It's going to take a little bit. To get everything kind of transitioned over. And so I actually thought there were more in the iBook store than I was expecting. Like when you first brought it up, I'm like, oh, what? They probably got 5 in there. Big
well,
book.
Yeah.
And so they actually have quite a few titles that aren't, it's not like the best sellers and the most well-known. I think they had they had Earth X, which is a classic. Mm-hmm. They had they had the Eternals. I think they had the whole Dark Tower series. I might just get that in digital, but yeah.
Okay. Well, I started looking at, I updated the DC and the Marvel apps, and I found that there were some oldies and goodies. Not everything that I still have my collection of Superman and all that stuff from when I was a kid, and it's really nice to have them in physical form, but to have them in digital form where they're never going to degrade, that's really nice. There are a couple of books that I would really like to keep in digital form so that if I want to look at it, I don't have to go into my archives and open it up, because I really don't like doing that. That's one of the problems of being a collector. It's like, well, yeah, I've got this great issue number 300 of Superman, but I can't ever open it.
Right, exactly. It's got to stay in that bag with that board, and if you interrupt that tape, oh my God.
Yeah, then you've got a problem.
Yeah.
All right.
And plus, I think it's going to take a good long while until, both DC and Marvel get up their backlogs in digital format, because they're not just. It's clear that they're not just scanning them in. Mm-hmm. They're optimizing them. It may even be a reproduction of the original, because comics for a long time now have been going through a digital format. You can tell that they're not using pen and ink and watercolors or markers anymore. That they're using Photoshop or Illustrator to color and ink and everything. So they may even be using a reproduction of just the actual original digital files and then optimizing it so that you can, because each of them you can zoom in and go panel by panel instead of page by page.
That's actually very true. However, when I was reading, let me go to see. I don't like the way this DC app is set up, but I was looking at. Go to the store. Oh my God, I don't like the way you have to navigate with this app. I wanted to bring it up. I really don't even need to bring it up while I'm doing this. But I was reading issue 1 of Crisis on Infinite Earths from DC, and the problem that I had with it is when you zoom in on an iPad 2. Now I don't know when this whole thing was put together, but when you zoom in on an iPad 2, the text of the speech bubbles. It's really jaggy.
Do you think that's a retina thing?
Well, it may be a retina thing, but I think this was either they're doing it intentionally, or
I don't think they're doing it intentionally.
I don't know.
What is it? Is it jaggy, like it's blurry, like you can see the pixels, or yeah. That I would bet is not intentional at all.
I can't even find my damn comics on this app. This app stinks.
If you got them through the app, there should be like a My Comics tab on the wall.
And I go there and there's nothing. And then I go to the store and it says, yeah, here's everything that you downloaded. Then I click it and it goes, nope, can't read it. Whatever.
Okay.
I'll deal with it some other time. Anyway, moving on. I want to talk a little bit about this weird iTunes problem that I was having today.
Yes.
So I was watching Mac Break Weekly, as we always do.
As you do.
And I knew this a while ago, except I'm very nervous about messing around with my iTunes files. And I bought a bunch of albums years ago, and there were 128 kilobit per second protected AAC files. And now what you can do is if you have iCloud set up, or iTunes Match set up, and everything is all read and done, you can delete the protected AAC files from iTunes, and it'll say, do you want to delete? And you say yes, and do you want to put it in the trash? And you say yes. And then what happens is the songs are still there in iTunes, except now it's got a little download icon next to them. And so if you do that, if you delete them and then you re-download them, you'll go from 128 kilobit per second protected files will be gone, and 256 kilobit per second unprotected files will be replaced. Or we'll replace them, I should say. And so I was doing that. There's one file that I've had that ever since I bought it back in, it was May of 2007. This is going on 5 years now. There's been this digital glitch in one of the files. So, make a long story short, I just wrote a report to Apple. And I said, this file is still screwed up. It's not one I listen to all the time, so it was not that big of a deal to me. But I wrote to them anyway. I went back to iTunes to continue doing this upgrade. All of a sudden, I start getting this 5556 error in iTunes, and I can't do this anymore. It's like now I'm stuck. It's like I have this problem where every time I try to download something from the iTunes store, it says, nope, you can't do it. Error 5556. And I can't seem to figure out why. But other people have been reporting this problem, and they say, well, a couple days later, and it just fixed itself. But
weird.
Now I can't do a damn thing. Now I'm like stuck. I haven't tried to buy anything new, but everything that I download now try to download now is broken. So
podcasts, music, everything?
Everything. I just get this error. And I logged out, logged back in. That didn't work. I logged out, quit, rebooted, logged back in. Did the iTunes match again? Still doesn't work.
Have you tried on different computers? Or different devices?
Yes,
even?
I tried it on my iPhone and my iPad, and it worked.
So it's the computer?
It's the computer. It's very strange, but
uninstall and reinstall iTunes.
I don't want to do that.
Well,
I think I'm going to have to, though. But
I don't know. If you uninstall iTunes, I don't think it'll get rid of your whole media file.
Mm-hmm.
And when you reinstall iTunes, it should, when you first install it and set it up, it should go, hey, want to search your entire hard drive for any and all music, and then put it into iTunes, and you should say yes.
Yeah.
And then yes.
I'll have to see what happens. Let's move on to the super secret iPad 3 news.
Oh, it's so super secret now.
It's not so super secret anymore. We all know what it is. An invitation went out to a journalist a couple days ago saying there's an iPad event on March 7th. Mm-hmm. We all know what it is. It's the iPad 3.
Yeah, it possibly other hardware as well, but definitely the iPad 3.
Yeah, and the invitation had somebody with their finger on a seemingly new iPad because the Retina display looked. But what are you doing? You're laughing at me because I did this with my finger.
No, not to reference other Mac podcasts, but the way they were breaking that invitation down.
Oh yeah.
They're like,
well, his finger's at this angle. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and that from this angle we can deduce, and they. Only put in those 3 apps in the shot, and it was probably when the iPad was at a landscape, but people are even saying, oh, on the bevel, there's no home button, so clearly this iPad has no home button. It couldn't possibly be in landscape, when the finger's touching the iPad and all this. So much thought into just a simple invitation. But anyways.
By the way, I just tried iTunes download again while you were talking, and now it works. That's
because I'm here.
I'm just saying,
things just work around me. It's
if
weird.
you get the 5556 error, get Kacey on your podcast, and everything will be fine. No, seriously, give it like an hour or two, and it should be okay. I don't understand it.
Consult your doctor if it exceeds 4 hours.
Anyway, back to the iPad 3. Now we all know that it's a new iPad. It's been known for a while. We've seen parts.
Even the specs, we know it's going to have LTE. We were thinking about, a Retina display. We knew it was going to have a better processor, better GPU, all of that goodness. So, I like knowing these facts, but at the same time, all the air is going to be sucked out of the keynote, and I don't like that either.
Well, at the same time, they could surprise. All right, first off, do we know if it's going to be an A5X or an A6? I don't think we know yet.
I guess we don't know. No.
So the reason why that matters is because, is it going to be dual core
or
Does
quad?
It matter?
Yeah.
Or a quad core? Do we need a quad core iPad?
Yes.
Didn't we talk about this last week? I think we did.
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. Okay, I'll shut up. No. In all seriousness, Photoshop came out for the iPad 2 days ago.
Yep.
And I haven't tried it, but from what I've heard, it's very good, but it's also a little laggy. Now I'm wondering if you put this on
targeted.
an Yeah.
it's targeted to the new hardware.
Yeah, if it's targeted for the new hardware now properly, and that's the difference is because the problem with a multi-core system is that if you're not threaded properly,
Yeah.
then you can't do everything seemingly well. Like
We had this issue with CS4 on the Mac.
right. You can either throw all your CPU or all your data into one core, or you can multi-thread it properly. And I've had to deal with this too, as well as a developer, is that what you want to do is you want to send chunks of data to each core and say, you work on this, you work on this, you work on this, and you work on this, and you got 4 cores going, and then everything is going faster. If you throw all your data at one core, then you're not going to get everything done. And again, it's not necessarily that fraction of the time.
Yeah.
But
if you have
be.
turbo boost, it'd help a little bit, but I mean, then you're just splitting hairs.
Yeah. So it all depends on how the software is written, but we assume that Adobe is going to write it properly.
Yeah, and the fact that this Photoshop Touch came out like now, kind of late, the timing kind of points to, and it makes sense.
Yeah.
It's a graphics program that really relies heavily on graphics. iPad 3 is going to have a much better GPU and a Retina display. And the program just came out like a week before the new iPad announcement.
Right.
It makes sense.
And then we have to wonder whether or not Adobe actually had an iPad 3 to test this on properly.
Oh, I'm sure they did.
So we'll have to see about
Apple,
that.
Well, maybe
it's
not.
It's possible. No, it's entirely possible.
At first I was gonna say, oh, I'm sure they had that, but Apple's kind of been catty with Adobe for years now, and especially the whole Flash fight. They're not like the best of friends like they used to be years ago. So
yeah, but I
guess it could go either way.
But it's a symbiotic relationship.
Because I know they both need each other.
They both need each other, and so they fight about Flash. It's like any relationship. You fight about the garbage, but yeah, it's like anything else. So I think that it's possible because here's another thing. Yeah, it came out a week before the iPad 3. At the same time, a big company like Adobe wants to be sure. Oh, and we lost Kacey. Anyway, a big company like Adobe wants to be sure that their software works, or else why not just wait until a week after to put it out, or 2 weeks after? So Kacey, we lost Kacey for a second, and that's because her internet connection is sometimes a bit flaky. So we're just going to wait for her to come back. And hopefully her interwebs will be okay. So we're just going to have to edit this down in the audio version, which reminds me I should probably write down when this happened. 3120. And we'll get Kacey back. And then we'll continue on. But anyway, some of the other things that I want to talk about as far as the iPad 3 goes is that Best Buy is offering a $50 discount for an iPad 2. Oh, and there she goes. Okay. Well, let me just put the camera on me then. Not that there's anything there. All right. This happens. I'll just try calling her back. We'll see what happens. Anyway, Best Buy is offering a $50 discount on the iPad 2.
The person whom you're trying to reach is currently unavailable. Please
great.
Leave a message after the beep.
No. And I know for a fact that Kacey is listening. Here we go. And you're back.
Yeah, I
I
am.
entertained the troops while you were gone.
Oh, thanks.
Did you have to reset your modem again?
I did.
All right. It's all right. Don't worry about it. It's nothing. And
Makes
you look
me
pissed.
just want to punch somebody.
Yeah, yeah, your internet provider.
Yeah.
Look at it this way. We've gone through 6 shows. This is your first disconnect.
I It better be my last.
Yeah,
It just
I know.
makes me so mad.
All right. Anyway,
It makes me mad every time.
well, yeah. I wrote it down. I'll edit it for the audio part. But for the video
Okay.
part, I
Oh,
yeah.
which reminds me, I should start recording again. Okay, there.
Yes. Are we back to normal?
Yes.
All right. So anyway, I was saying that Best Buy is offering $50 discount on iPad 2 models. There's an opening of a Houston store on March 16th. However, there are rumors going around that Best Buy is supposed to get accessories for the iPad 3 on March 11th, which is 5 days earlier, which makes you wonder, when is this thing coming out? Because if the event is on the 7th, then is it going to come out 2 days later on the 9th, or is it going to come out on the 16th? Because last time, how did it go? I don't remember the last year.
Last time it was, I want to say it was exactly a week.
It was, or 10 days. Was it a week or 10
Yeah.
days? But anyway, it was the
might
following
have
week,
been
right?
10 days. Yeah,
Yeah.
because they usually do their announcements on a Tuesday, maybe a Wednesday. And it came out on a Friday last year. So, yeah, it might have been 10 days.
Okay.
I mean,
so,
there's arguments for both, either, the next week or the 10th or 11th. I mean, if they want to do another pop-up store at South by, that would be good. Otherwise, if it's a week later, they miss South by completely. But I don't know. I'm kind of hesitant with any rumors coming out of Best Buy.
Well, yeah, I totally agree with you there. The one thing that I'm thinking is that if the March 16th opening of the Houston store is going to be at the launch of the iPad 3, is that the way that you want to launch a store with new employees? I don't know if you really want to do that, because a lot of these people are probably going to be green as far as retail goes, and you can train them up. Yeah.
I mean, for Apple Store, I would imagine they probably begin training them a month, maybe 2 months before the store even opens. They've probably been working and training prior.
Yeah.
And with all new stores, not everyone there is green.
Yeah.
They're going to transfer in veterans from nearby stores and shuffle people around. So I don't think it would be so chaotic. It's not going to be like that China iPhone sales thing, the eggs and shit.
No. I guess what I'm thinking is more along the lines of rude customers, a lot of people.
That's always a problem.
Well,
you know, there's not like people are more rude on store openings.
But no. You're absolutely right. It's just I'm talking about new people to retail. And where's my iPad 3? I was giving this one guy when the iPhone 4 came out. I was standing online, and the line was taking hours to get through. And the problem was they were activating the phones in the store. And this one it was 3 hours or 4 hours later, we're finally getting around to close to the front of the store, and this guy from Apple comes out, and I said, we can activate these at home. Why don't you just ask people to either activate them in the store or activate them at home, and then this line will move faster. And he gave me such an Apple response. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it came right out of the Apple playbook.
Cool story, bro.
Thank you.
No, I mean, well, yeah, so that problem with iOS 5 would be resolved. I know working in Best Buy for 2 iPad launches, the lines were always long, but for some reason, I don't know, maybe Best Buy is more worried about their iPads getting stolen. We always had to keep all of them locked up way back in the warehouse. And so where people were actually lining up and purchasing them was more towards the middle of the store. So every time somebody came up to the cash register to buy an iPad, we had to take their little ticket because they pre-ordered and then run back to the back of the store, grab the model, and then come back and ring them out. And there was like 4 people doing that.
All right?
Yeah.
Okay. And we weren't going to talk too much about the iPad 3 because there's a lot of stuff out there. Anybody that knows what's going on with the iPad 3 knows all the rumors. We're just going to talk about it more next week when we actually have them.
Yay, rumors.
I say next week. You know why? Because I think that they're going to come out on the 9th.
I hope so. The sooner the better. I cannot wait
Yeah.
to get my hands on one.
I know. I'm a little concerned. Not that this rumor not necessarily comes out of Best Buy, but the fact that Best Buy is supposed to get the accessories on the 11th makes me think that the iPad itself is going to come out first.
Remember when they had that rumor about getting Diablo 3 early?
Oh yeah, yeah.
That totally came true.
Yeah, sure it did. We don't talk about rumors. I don't like talking about rumors because you could spend 10 or 15 minutes speculating on stuff.
Debating, yeah.
And then the following day it could be completely worthless. But this we know. Intel is putting out Sandy Bridge Xeon chips. This is going to be my Mac Pro watch segment.
It's been, yeah.
Waiting for the new
Mac.
Yeah, I know. I'm waiting for a new Mac Pro. It's funny. I was thinking about this today. I bought my first Mac in 1990. I've been a Mac fan for 22 years.
Oh,
I've had this. This is the smart ass part of the show. Had this Mac.
I meant that honestly.
I've had this Mac for 6 years. That's almost a quarter of the time that I've been a fan of a Mac. 6 years. And so it's time to upgrade this puppy.
No, it definitely needs an upgrade.
Yeah.
But what are you going to do when you do get your new one?
Well, for one thing, it'll run faster. It'll do some of this video processing.
No, I mean with the current one.
You're like,
I've had this for
that.
a quarter of my Mac life. So then is it more sentimental to you? Because I don't think I've never had a computer that long.
I really didn't plan on keeping this for that long either, except that it just works. It works so well that I never really needed. I had no need to replace it. And so now that Mountain Lion won't work on it, and I'm starting.
Is it going to sit over there with a cube? That's just kind of a
I don't know, because the problem with this is that if I wanted to run it as a Mac OS X server machine. The only thing that I'd be able to run it would be Lion. I guess that would be fine.
Yeah,
I could run Lion, but I won't be able to upgrade to Mountain Lion OS X. I won't be able to upgrade to whatever's past that, which would make this thing pretty much obsolete. But it's a server. If I use it as a server, it could probably run under a Lion server for a long time. So I'll have to see. But anyway,
servers definitely have much longer lives than regular desktops.
Sure. The fact that we're going to get Xeon chips, their E5s, makes me wonder when the Mac Pro is going to be updated, or can be updated, or will it be updated? I mean, Apple could basically say, nope, we're just going to kill the whole line and enjoy your iMacs. And that's it. But I don't want to beat a dead horse because we've talked about this before, but
yeah,
we're just going to have to see what happens with the Mac Pro space in the next few months.
I just have to believe they're going to put, even if it's just the last generation, at least one more Mac Pro out.
One more for the Gipper.
No, I mean, they got rid of the X-Serve. I just can't believe that the Mac Mini is going to be the only server box that they sell.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah.
And really, I mean, the Mac Pro would then be really the only powerhouse machine. I mean, they keep claiming that the MacBook Pros and the 27-inch iMac is, but really the iMacs are always, the iSeries. That was always driven as the consumer line.
Right.
And then you had the PowerBooks and the Power Macs.
Right.
And that was the prosumer line. And the Mac Pro is literally like the last remnant of that. Because, I mean, you could still argue that the MacBook Pros are, but again, they're still laptops. And how you can get a powerful laptop, sure, but it's still a laptop.
Mm-hmm. And they're still using the Pro name on the MacBook Pro.
Yeah.
And that's a whole other market there. I mean, there are people that are using MacBook Pros or laptops in general as their main machines and just hooking up to a monitor and keyboard.
Yeah.
So I'd hate to think of the Mac Pro as a dinosaur or unnecessary.
Me too.
But then
even
again,
if I'm not using it, I want it to be around.
Is it possible that maybe Apple made these machines too good? I mean, I've used this thing for 6 years. I could probably get another year or two out of it. I mean, really, if I really,
you could say that about any of them, because I know lots of people who say the same thing about, their old white MacBooks, their old, flower pot iMacs, old Macs of any sort.
Sure.
People get 7 to 10 years out of them all the time. And so really you could say that about everything.
I guess what I'm saying is if I think back at the machines that I've had in the past, my first one was a Mac Plus. I replaced that with, I believe, a 2SI, and then I went to a CX. I know a CX. I went to CX for a reason. And then I'm not going to give the whole history of stuff, but like the Blueberry iBook that I first got, that only lasted for a couple years because then I went to the DV400, the gray one.
Well, because you felt pressured to upgrade, or because you wanted to upgrade for new features?
I wanted to upgrade for new features, and I forgot what it was. It might have been...
So it's not like you had to upgrade. If you had to get more use out of it, you could have. But, people like us, I mean, I upgrade my Mac at least every two. I mean, the longest I go is 2 years. It's generally 1 to 1.5 years I get a new Mac. And that's just because, I want new features. I want it to be not always the top of the line, but at least current.
What was your reasoning for buying your latest Mac?
Well, my latest Mac, my fantastic employer got for me, but
that doesn't count. But all right, so let's make it count. What do you like about it that's different from your last one? And could you have gone longer without that new one?
Yeah, no, the one before this, I had a 21-inch iMac. I went back, and like really the last 2 to 4 years, I've been flip-flopping from MacBook to iMac to MacBook to iMac. Because I kind of have like this dilemma where I really like having a laptop where I can just take it everywhere. I can be in the bed, I could be on the couch, I could be on the desk, I could be at work, at school, whatever, and it's still my computer. I'm not like remoting in or anything. But if I really want to get serious work done, I spend majority of my time at a desk. So why not get a desktop? And so I kind of flip back and forth on that. This most recent one, I have a current MacBook Pro 15-inch. I like it because it's got an i7 in it. It's got much better. It's got a better graphics card than the 21-inch iMac I had, which was a current gen 21-inch. It's got the HD FaceTime camera, so the camera is much better. It's got a longer battery life, and it had a Thunderbolt port. Yeah,
the Thunderbolt port is nice. That's one thing I'm missing. And people ask me, what are you going to do with the Thunderbolt port? I don't know yet. But I would rather
right
have
now I'm still doing the same things I was doing with a mini display port. But I think that's primarily because the peripherals need to still catch up with it.
I feel that a Thunderbolt port for me would give me the ability to expand the Mac. Right now, I don't have anything to expand it to. However, I'd rather have it than not have it for the future, because there could be something amazing in a few years. And I say, oh, yeah, right. I got a Thunderbolt port.
Right, you're future-proof in that way.
All right, let's move a little past this whole Mac Pro thing. You wrote this, the iPhone 5 may be waterproof. What's up with this?
So there's this company, and I think they were debuting this in the Mobile World Congress that just went on this last week.
Right.
This company called HZO. They've been researching and developing ways to make portable electronics waterproof.
Okay.
And why is my video frozen?
I don't know.
That's fantastic.
Now you're fine.
Maybe I'm just taking a nap. Who knows? And so they've been developing this technology to make primarily iPads, iPhones, and iPods waterproof. Because I think they're probably the most vocal group of people who get really pissed off when they drop their stuff in the toilets or wherever. You know, you don't hear about as many Blackberries in toilets as you do iPhones in toilets. But in any case, so apparently Apple was talking to HZO about their technology in looking in ways to make the iPhones especially waterproof.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a part, I forget where it was, that they've actually been partnering for, I think it was in a couple weeks ago. And if you guesstimate, that the normal time frame for a new technology or a new requisition, new partnership, when Apple buys a new company or whatever, from that point until the point that you actually start seeing that technology implemented in their new products is about 6 months, give or take.
Okay.
And so they're in talks right now with HZO. They might buy them out. They might just bring them on as contractors, and kind of work with them like a third party, like they do Gorilla Glass, or did anyways. But if you take that into account, now until when the iPhone 5 is supposed to come out in October, it's about 6 months. So people are saying, if you take that into account, and then they're in talks right now. So people are all up in arms that it's official.
Yeah,
The iPhone 5 is totally going to be waterproof.
I
Start
jumped in a
dropping your
pool.
iPhone in toilets.
Yeah, I jumped in a pool with an iPhone once. That was really dumb. It was funny because I was going to jump in the pool and I take out my keys and I take out my wallet and I jump in the pool.
And you left your iPhone in there.
I left my iPhone. So I quick got it out. I held it over my head, because I was, trying to get it out.
Because you wanted to show everybody.
And I shook it out, and I did everything that you had to do, and I got it working. I actually got the thing working after a while.
Did you put it in rice?
No, we didn't have rice. We were on vacation, and so there was. I could have gotten some, I suppose, but what I did was I went to Radio Shack, and I got the tools I needed to take it apart, and I let it dry out. And a couple hours later, I had my MacBook Pro with me, and I plugged it in, and I was able to pull all the data off of it.
Oh.
So that was the most important. It's like I wanted to get all the data off of it, and then I got a new phone the following day, but I had to pay for a new one.
Yeah.
But it'll be nice. I'd like to see waterproofing on electronic devices, because I'm sure a lot of people have. I actually saw somebody drop their phone in a toilet once.
I saw somebody drop their phone in a mug of beer.
Oh, well, okay.
Which I would think, you'd really have to try hard, because a mug of beer, the radius or the diameter is almost about the same as an iPhone, but there you go.
I just don't understand why people need to be on the phone in the bathroom, in the men's room. It's like, dude, just tell them to call them back. They can hear you're in the bathroom. It's creepy to me.
No, I don't think a lot of people are literally on the phone making calls in the bathroom. I think a lot of people are, especially with iPhones, looking stuff up. That's the new magazine in the bathroom.
Well, yeah, but in this case, the guy was on the phone.
Oh.
He was actually like holding it on his shoulder and
Oh, no, you cannot. The iPhone is literally just impossible to hold with your shoulder.
Yeah. No, I don't know. Bloom County Digital Library is on the Apple iTunes Store. I love this. Did you ever read Bloom County?
No.
No? Billy and the Boingers?
What?
Bloom County was hilarious. It was out a long time ago, and to have it this is basically the entire collection on the iBooks Store, and people are really, really happy about this. I mean,
people named Mike.
What?
People named Mike.
People named Mike love this. No, really, it's
sources close to the matter say
this is awesome. It's only $8, and it's got everything. It says here, I think it's got every strip from December 8th, 1980 through December 31st, 1981 in chronological order.
Oh, so thank God.
Yeah, so it's it was very funny at the time.
At the time?
Yeah. I'm
So
very
it's not
happy
funny
about
now.
that. No, I'm sure it is. We're gonna get ads on Twitter for the iPhone.
Finally.
Oh God, I can't stand this. I use Twitter for the iPhone because it really is the best multi account iPhone app that I've used.
Yeah, no, I agree. I love it. I
However,
even I love Tweetbot, the way Tweetbot
yeah,
looks, but still functionally the native Twitter app is still the best.
right. But here's what I didn't do, and people ask me why I don't auto upgrade my apps. It's for this. The upgrade to Twitter for the iPhone from the version I have to the version that's out now, people hated it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been sticking with this old version, so hopefully I'll be immune to it.
Yeah, I saw this literally the minute after I upgraded the app.
Oh, really?
I'm usually I'm on top of my updates for everything.
I'm not. I because I've been bitten by things like this before in the past. It's like you
I know,
upgrade something and they go,
yeah.
"Oh."
Like about half the time I am too, but for still the promise of cool new features always outweighs the horrible new features for me. So they could still throw stuff in here like this, still throw me curveballs, still throw in like new update, you get piles of crap. And I'll be still on top of my updates.
Yeah.
Whatever.
And then you added this last piece that we have under news. Tell us about this petition for not that this is going to make any difference. I saw this. This is pretty awful.
Okay, so more about the whole Foxconn business.
It's how it's presented.
Yeah. Okay. So if you're this, there's a game that was recently rejected from the App Store called Phone Story, kind of like Maple Story or Dev Story. It's like a little RPG in kind of 8-bit graphics where you role play as a factory worker in a mobile phone factory making mobile phones.
Yeah, but it's how the story is told too.
Oh no, it's totally sensationalist.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's so grueling. The factory is dirty. You are like a peasant, and you're just it's so fucking awful. So they submitted this, and again, I'm not making light of the situation. Love me some human rights, but anyways.
No, I snickered because we just went to an explicit tag.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Watch out, Cult of Mac. Anyways, we're catching up. Anyways, so they submit this to the App Store, and it gets rejected.
Gee, I wonder why.
That's weird. So they take it a step further, and they make this petition for everybody to sign to rally together and get this horrible app into the App Store. Like, what are they going to do? I mean, it's probably dual purpose. A, to get the game into the App Store, and B, to, I don't know, open Apple's eyes to what's going on.
They're well aware of what's going on.
Right. No, they weren't reading the news, but this app is going to open their eyes.
Yeah.
Clearly.
It was lame.
Yeah.
Disney's new John Carter film is dedicated to Steve Jobs, and rightfully so.
Yes.
Yeah, the opening of the film is going to have this really nice dedication. I think, was it the opening or no? It's the closing credits. I'm sorry, I thought it was the opening.
Oh, where they say thanks to.
Yeah, dedicated to the memory of Steve Jobs and inspiration to us all. Slash Film reported this. I thought it was in the opening because mostly the dedications are in the beginning. But yeah, I know some movies like Contact or the dedications are at the end. But a lot of people's imaginations were sparked by a lot of the things that Steve had worked on, like Pixar and Apple.
Yeah.
And such.
Little things like that.
Little things like that. So it's nice to see dedications to Steve Jobs. I wonder if there are going to be more of them over time.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised over time. But yeah.
Tell us about your iMessage problem. This is a funny one.
So my husband, his iPhone's been kind of screwing up as of late, and we tried to go. He's done the restore. He's done, all the troubleshooting steps that you normally take. We're not new to this by any means. So we took our trip to the Apple Store last weekend, as you do. You get to the end of the line, you go to the Apple Store, and you get the hardware replaced by the Genius Bar. So we got this genius who just wanted to shoo us out the door and was just serious about not replacing the hardware. So anyways, he reset my husband's settings in the iPhone. And ever since then, we've been having issues with him not getting text messages sent to his phone number. iMessages were all screwed up. And then last night, we had, since he was missing so many text messages, we just resigned ourselves to only using iMessage because at least that got through. Well, last night we found out it was getting through, but it was also getting through to one other person apparently. So we were talking over iMessage on our phones, and all of a sudden, a third voice comes in on the stream and starts saying, tell me how, stop texting me, tell me how to take you off my phone. And my husband and I are just kind of taken aback. At first, I thought he was copying and pasting somebody else's conversation into ours, because it's just a one-to-one. We're both iMessaging each other to our email addresses. It's not like in a group MMS where the names come above the chat bubbles. There's no names because it's just us. And so to me, it looks like my chat bubbles on one side and then him and this third person on the other side. It's almost like he's fighting with himself.
And it's important to mention that you're doing this over iMessage with your email addresses, not your phone numbers.
Right. No, we're both using our iMessage account on the phones. It's blue, not green. And we're both using our email addresses. And so we have like this 30-minute argument with this other person who keeps telling us to take her number off our phones. And of course, we're trying to say, look, we don't know who you are. We don't have your number. There's no names in there. There's no phone number comes up. No email. Her email address isn't showing up. Literally all we see is her chat bubble, as if it was my husband's, but I know it's not him because of the way she was talking.
Yeah.
So after a while, we tell her to reset her settings, and me and my husband both turn iMessage off on our phones. And so that from that point on, his texting directly to his phone number worked again. And so we just had to do things old school. But it was incredibly bizarre. And I couldn't think how that was happening, especially when you're resolving to email addresses. It's not like we're getting phone numbers screwed up. How could this possibly be going on?
And then you figured it out.
Well,
Possibly.
kind of, sort of.
Yeah.
We started doing some research, and apparently, and I heard about this a few weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago, when people were complaining when their iPhones were being stolen and iMessages started going to the old phone, or people who sold their old iPhone 4s primarily, that they had enabled iMessage on and then sold the phone and got a 4S, or the phone was stolen and they got a new phone. In any case, if iMessage was enabled on another phone, people were complaining that they were getting, phantom messages, or their messages were going to more than one person. So it seems like iMessage doesn't just resolve to your phone number, that it seems to be resolving to either the SIM or the IMEI number of the phone itself. So a simple restore doesn't clear that data out. It's being cached somewhere, and a lot of people seem to think it's on the SIM card.
But didn't we read something where somebody changed the SIM card and it was still happening, which pointed to a problem on Apple servers?
Well, yeah, there's a discussion thread on Apple support forums saying that people were blaming the SIM card and saying that if you take the SIM card out and then restore it and put the SIM card back in, that it's fine. And then there's another article that you were reading from Wired about the stolen phones, saying that the SIM card has nothing to do with it, that it's resolved on, I guess, Apple servers links up your email, phone number, and SIM or IMEI number possibly on their servers, in which case there's really nothing you can do until they clear the cache out on their end.
Right. So what this means, this is why I mentioned before that it was important that I say that it was your email addresses, is because if it's your phone number could be on your SIM, but I don't think your email address is stored on your SIM. But your SIM is linked to your phone. So on Apple servers, they could have, as you said, IMEI number and you are linked together. And so when your message goes up to the cloud and it's supposed to get broadcast back down to the right person, it's going to the wrong person. And that,
it's going to both places.
Or both places. Yeah, it's going to every
in this case, like with the stolen phones or the sold phones, it seems to have the old IMEI number, and then if you get a new phone, it's also caching that new one. So then it's branching at some point, and so it's going to both places. It's either, it would almost make more sense if it was just still going to one place, but say the old phone, or just the new phone, but it's just going to all phones. So what if you get like a third phone, then there's 3 out there getting your messages, or
I'm curious
about. Do they stack like?
I don't know, but I'm thinking, is it because you sold that phone? Is it possible that the email address is still in the iMessage section of the settings somehow?
Not on the phone. My husband and I both, we upgrade every version, and then we sell our old ones either on eBay or Craigslist.
Right.
And so it's entirely possible that this random person that was getting the messages was one of Ed's old phones. But every time we sell it, obviously we restore it, and wipe it and restore it and then sell it. So, but we don't always pull a SIM card.
All right. Well,
I used to do that, but
yeah, if you wiped it, then chances are it's got to be a server problem. Theoretically,
it would. Yeah, but that kind of worries me more. If it was a SIM problem, that's an easy fix. Go to the AT&T store; they're giving away SIMs. If it's a server problem, then we're relying on Apple to figure this out and close the loop.
Right.
Which I'm not saying that they can't do, but it's just like, then you have to wait for them to do it.
Well, this should have been fixed by now because this has been reported way back in November, December.
Yeah.
And this shouldn't be very difficult to fix. If it's being cached somewhere.
Think so.
Yeah, well.
But maybe it's not. If it's still occurring, maybe it's not an easy fix.
I don't know. I'm just thinking that Apple hires the smartest and brightest, so this is something that should have been fixed a long time ago.
I agree, and I don't know. It's not even like a question of, oh, I think this should be fixed, or it'd be nice if this was fixed. This needs to be fixed. Like, I would think more than the photo album controversy being downloaded, or permissions issue with the developers, all of that, the address book downloading an issue and everything. This is more of an issue than that. Yeah. If people are getting private text from other people, then that's a huge, not just privacy, but just trust in general issue.
Yeah, between the consumer and Apple. Sure, absolutely.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to apps. What's your app? Tell us what your app is this week.
So I finally gave in to the hype, and I downloaded the Clear app. This came out at CES, I think. Okay. No, Macworld. It got like Best of Show or something. I don't know. It's a beautiful app.
Is it iPhone?
It does one thing for iPhone.
Yeah.
It's called Clear, and it's a task reminder type app. And since reminders came out for iOS 5, I really stopped looking and stopped listening to all the hype for other task type reminder apps, because reminders is good, and then I have calendar if I really need to get detailed. But Clear is just so beautiful and so well done. All it does is literally makes a task list, and you can move your tasks around in kind of like a heat signature type pattern, where there's red and then it kind of goes into orange and then yellow as the tasks get more or get lower in priority. You can't set dates or time limits, or you really can't even get too detailed in the name of the task. It limits you to the width of the screen on how long the name of the task can be even. But literally all you do is you make a list and then you swipe to delete as you go through them. But the way that the navigation works and the look and the design is just so beautiful and so well done. I love using it. It's become, I think I downloaded it on Tuesday or something. I've been using it literally every day since.
I'm looking at this. So, yeah, it's got a heat map priority, and then it says pull to create an item, swipe to complete an item, pinch to change lists. So I assume you can have multiple lists, and pinch apart to create an item. So it seems to be very simplistic in what it does. It's
very simple. And then you pull down from the top down to add in a new item. The way that kind of like turns in like a cube, I think, is just an amazing effect for the navigation. And the pinch and pull to like kind of collapse and expand whole entire views. I don't know how they're doing that, but that's amazing and beautiful. It's become, instead of like, if you're in a job where I am and I just need to like write down like stupid little notes for the day. Okay, do this, do this, do this. Instead of like carrying around a clipboard or a lined piece of paper, it's literally that on your iPhone. You're just making quick little notes, and that's what I've been using it for. Instead of, like, I still use reminders because I really like the geofencing aspect in that.
Yeah.
So I can set reminders for do this when I get home or when I arrive at work. That's fantastic. But this Clear is great for just literally if you're just jotting down like today's, right now, this hour's notes.
I'm terrible at reminders. I really am. It's I've tried to use reminder apps and I can't get into them.
Reminders, the built-in reminders is good, like I said, because of the geofencing, but also because Siri will freaking do it for you.
That's true. Yeah, I don't have Siri.
Oh, that's right.
Siri, make me a sandwich. All right.
Yeah, as soon as you get Siri, reminders will probably be way more interesting to you.
Probably. Yeah, I'm waiting for an iPhone 5, so because I can get an iPhone 4S now. I think February 16th or something like that was when I was able to get an iPhone 4S. I'm like, I might as well just wait for a 5 at this point.
Yeah.
So, my app it's a little bit of a niche, but I'll mention it anyway. It's called XLD for the Mac. And what this does, I was talking before about 2496 audio. When the problem that I've had is that when I bought the Jar albums, I accidentally bought my first album in Apple lossless, and I wanted to convert it to FLAC. And the reason why is because I have an Oppo Blu-ray player, and the Blu-ray player will allow you to stream data, but only of certain formats. It won't work with Apple lossless, but it will work in FLAC. At the same time, iTunes will play Apple lossless, obviously, but it won't play FLAC. So if I want to play FLAC on the Mac, I have to use like VLC.
Yeah.
And I don't really want to do that. So this app called XLD will allow you to convert audio from one format to another. So, and without loss of data either.
I was gonna say that's gonna be my next question.
I wouldn't have used it if it had any loss of data. But apart from the fact that it'll convert from like FLAC to Apple lossless, it'll downsample the way that you want. And it's got a whole bunch of options for doing so. So it's crucial for someone like me who, like, for example, my stereo in my car won't play Apple lossless or FLAC.
You have a third.
Not that I expected it to, but
that won't play either. But
I know. But I wanted to be able to play like that version of that album, and so now I'm gonna have to whittle it down to a regular something like an MP3 or something. Maybe it'll work. It'll work in Wave. I wonder if my stereo will work with Wave. But
then you can. Why don't you just burn CDs?
I could do that. Well, it's a FLAC. It's $24.96.
Get really old school.
I'd have to burn DVD audio or Blu-ray for FLAC, but yeah, it can be done. But XLD will convert audio from one format to another. Upsampling is pointless because you're basically just filling bits, but it'll work well with side sampling or side converting and downsampling. So, all right,
nice.
Trips. We didn't really have much for this week, but I came up with one when I had that bad track. How do you report a bad track in iTunes? I couldn't figure out how to do this. I found that what you have to do is you have to go to your history. So you go to your
purchase history.
You go to your purchase history in iTunes, and this is the problem, is that you have to find out when you bought that thing, that track. You can find it by, if you right click on the track and you do show and finder, it'll tell you the date that which you downloaded it. So you go to that date and you can jump to it in your list, and you click on, there'll be a little arrow next to the album. You click the album, and then above it it'll show all the tracks, and you click on report a concern. I think it's what it's called. And it seems very silly, but for someone like me, when you're dropping money,
right.
But it's important because this digital error is annoying as hell, because now I'm used to the digital error. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like that in the track, and it's like, oh man, this is annoying. Yeah. So it's this very quiet sounding. Oh. So I'm hoping that Apple fixes it. We'll see. Yeah. I think we're done.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a long show.
It was a long show. Hour and 15 minutes.
We had lots to talk about. It's all good.
Hey.
And then my internet had to go out. So,
but that's okay. I'll edit that out.
Edit and post. Yay.
Yep, edit and post. All right, if you want to contact us, I am at StarMike on Twitter. Kacey is Kacey Queso. I am not going to mess it up. You spell it this time.
I know. I don't know why you always insist on doing it.
It's not. It's just something I'm used to doing. Go ahead, spell it.
Kaceykaso.
All right.
The Kacey, not the cheese.
If you want to email us, theinfiniteloopshow@gmail.com. And of course, you can follow us on the Infinite Loop Show on Infinite Loop. I always mess this up. Infinite Loop TV on Twitter.
On Twitter. Infinite Loop Show on YouTube.
The Infinite Loop Show on YouTube. Yes.
The Infinite Loop Show on Google Plus, on Facebook. We're all over the place, all up in these interwebs.
Yes, and we hate squatters.
Yeah, so stop squatting on domain names so we can buy them all.
Yes, that's right. All right, thanks for listening, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Say I like Max.
I like Max.